Hello, listeners. I'm the Bedtime Storyteller, and I hope that these series of stories will bring you peace before bedtime and make you sleep better. Also, where are you from, and what time is it? At your place? Next, I'm going to tell you about the 5th episode of the 1st season of The Candle in the Tomb. That spring, the whole of China was shrouded in the shadow of war. The Soviet Union deployed 3 army groups with a total of more than 1 million troops on China's northern border. China's neighbor India also had constant friction with China's border defense forces. Seeing this situation, the National Army on the island felt that there was an opportunity and was ready to counterattack. At the same time, the U.S. 7th Fleet also entered a state of war. The Chinese government's top leaders felt the threat of international hostile forces and constantly readjusted their strategic deployment, expanded the army, prepared for war and famine, dug deep holes, and stored grain. The masses actively carried out 3 defense drills for nuclear defense, chemical defense, and air attack defense. When I went back to the city to visit my relatives, someone told me the inside news that my parents' problems would soon be clarified by the organization, proving that my grandfather was not a landlord and his class was a middle peasant, so it was only a matter of time before they were released. At this time, due to the large-scale conscription of the People's Liberation Army, an old comrade in arms of my father asked me to join the army as a backdoor soldier. My father's comrade in arms, Uncle Chun, was the chief of staff of the military sub-district. When the 9th Corps entered the Korean War, hundreds of thousands of volunteers surrounded the most elite Marine Corps' 1st Division of the U.S. Army on the icy and snowy Gima Plateau. The large number of aerial bombs and napalm bombs dropped by the U.S. Air Force illuminated the night sky into daylight. Facing the fire barrier composed of the U.S. steel barrage, the volunteers launched wave after wave of charges like a tide. In that cruel battle, my father braved the low temperature of -40 degrees Celsius and carried the seriously injured Uncle Chun out of the pile of dead bodies. When they arrived at the first aid station, their bodies were frozen together by the blood on their bodies. The nurse used scissors to cut the flesh to separate them. The friendship between them can no longer be measured by the 4 words friendship of life and death, and my parents' historical problems are about to be resolved. Now it is not difficult for a sub-district chief of staff to arrange for the son of an old comrade in arms to join the army. In a sense, the Chinese people's habit of taking the back door started in the army. Uncle Chun asked me what branch of the army I wanted to be. I said I wanted to be in the Air Force. I heard that the food for pilots was good. Uncle Chun smiled and flicked my head. It's not that easy to fly a fighter jet, you kid. Go to the field army. Train well for a few years, and when you are promoted, I will transfer you to the military district headquarters to work. I said forget about going back to the headquarters. I still want to stay in the grassroots troops. I can't get used to working in the office. I wanted to go back to Hill Village and say goodbye to Biggie Wong and Yanis, but time didn't allow it, so I wrote them a letter. I felt very sorry. I went to the army to serve as a soldier. Leaving my good friends in the mountains, how to say it, I felt a little bit that I couldn't share the same hardships. But I didn't have this feeling after 3 months, and then I realized how comfortable it was to be an educated youth in the mountains. I was assigned by the conscription office to a unit that was about to be refitted into an armored division. Unexpectedly, by mistake, After just 3 months of hard work in the recruit training camp, the Central Military Commission issued an order that this unit was transferred to the 62nd Road Station at the Kunlun Pass on the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau, and the entire division was reorganized into an engineering unit. In fact, this matter is not surprising. At that time, the situation was that the troops across the country were digging holes for civil defense construction. All kinds of holes, air defense, ammunition storage, strategic concealment, etc. There was almost no unit in the Army that did not dig holes. The difference was that my unit changed from amateur hole digging to professional hole digging. Our mission was a top-level secret, and we had to build a huge underground combat readiness facility deep in the Kunlun Mountains. Although the soldiers were not clearly told the purpose of this facility, anyone with a little bit of brains should be able to guess it. There are confidentiality regulations in the Army, so everyone never talks about this matter. There are also rumors that after completing this engineering task, we will be reorganized back into the sequence of the field army. The Kunlun Pass, also known as the Kunlun Pass, is 4,767 meters above sea level. From a geological perspective, it belongs to the permafrost desert landform and is composed of complex metamorphic rocks that were strongly corroded in ancient times. Our division, from top to bottom, knew nothing about civil engineering construction except digging trenches, so the Army sent many engineers and technicians to guide the work and conduct intensive training for officers and soldiers for 5 months. One of my classes was the first to go south through the unfrozen spring as an advance team and enter the deepest part of the vast Kunlun Mountains. Our task was to find a hidden place suitable for construction. The unfrozen spring is located on the north bank of the Kunlun River, also known as the Kunlun Spring. The granite slabs form the pool wall. The clear spring water in the pool gushes out for thousands of years. Even in the severe winter, it never freezes. No one knows where the spring eye leads to. The superior conveyed the discipline and ordered the soldiers not to take a bath here because the local Tibetans regard the unfrozen spring as a sacred spring and often worship the spring water. When Tibet was just liberated, the Army passed through this place. At that time, these regulations had not been issued. 3 soldiers were bathing in the spring and were drowned in the spring. The cause of death was said to be a large amount of saltpeter and sulfur in the spring water. Their tombs were placed in a military station not far from here. The last supply station of our team was also set up there. Finally, entering Kunlun Mountain, almost everyone had a serious altitude reaction. Everyone's face was purple and their eyes became blurred. It seemed that we had hallucinations in our eyes. The thousands of hills and valleys of the towering Kunlun were like silver-gray dragons rolling forward, and our team of more than 10 people seemed to be no better than a small ant in this majestic and boundless mountain range. On the way to the march, I remembered the book passed down by my grandfather. The book said that the 5,000 peaks of Kunlun were the ancestors of the dragon veins in the world. These mountains have been buried with countless secrets since the ancient times until now. It is said that the mausoleum of King Gesar, the hero king in Tibetan mythology, and the gate to the devil's country are hidden in these undulating mountains. In ancient Tibetan customs, sky burial was not the highest form of treatment. The highest form of treatment was pagoda burial.